Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and while you're at it, click the bell to be notified of future videos. This block is called Zenith, and it finishes 8 inches by 12 inches. And I went a little crazy. There are 3 pages of instructions on here. Plus, this is a free download from P&B Textiles. So why would I make 3 pages when you can get the download? Well, I'll explain to you as we go through the cutting. And please disregard the oil that I dropped on these first 2 pages. Here's the diagram, and these instructions that I'm giving you today will make 4 of these. It'll make 2 that look like this, and the other 2 will have the colors reversed. So it'll be gray on the outside and red on the inside. So for a total of 4. Here's how the quilt is laid out. There will be a code here for you to scan or click on if you're looking at it on the internet, or scan it, and you can download the instructions from P&B. I downloaded this I don't know how many years ago, and it's been in my free download file for a long time, and I keep looking at it and thinking, oh, do I want to do it? Oh, I don't want to do it that way. So let's go look at the patches. Patch A is a 2-inch finished half square triangle. And these patches are used to make a total of 16 half square triangles and 8 flying geese units. And this is the sky part of the flying geese. So in our 4 blocks, we'll have 4 half square triangles in each corner, and then the A patch also does the sky portion of these flying geese. There's 2 per block, so 8 flying geese total that we're making today. Patch E is a 4-inch finished quarter square triangle, and these patches are used to make a total of 8 flying geese units, and these make the geese part. Now there are 48 of these blocks in the quilt. So all of these half square triangles, there's 4 on each block, and all of the sky portion of all the flying geese are done by cutting oversized squares and cutting them down to size. And for one thing, I don't really like that. And then the flying geese units are made with 2 half square triangles. And I'm not crazy about that either. I would rather make the flying geese and have 1 patch here in the middle for the geese part and 2 patches for the sky part. It's a whole lot of half square triangles that are all cut oversized and trimmed down. So I just don't like that. But if that's how you like to do things, then that's fine. I'm going to show you how to do the flying geese 4 at a time and the half square triangles 8 at a time. You have the choice to piece these units by sewing the individual patches. And as we talked about before, patches are, in this half square triangle, you cut a square, then you cut the square in half on the diagonal, and you get 2 triangles. I'll show you. You would get, here's a half square triangle. This light triangle here is a patch, and this is a patch. So you would cut a square in half on the diagonal, and you get 2 patches. So you sew the light and the dark together, and you have a half square triangle. When you are using the AccuQuilt, you're cutting patches, so this is what you do. But you can also cut patches if you just want to rotary cut them. So then for all the half square triangles and the flying geese, you will follow these instructions here where it says sewing patches for patch A. Now here, if you want to make half square triangles 8 at a time, you follow these instructions. And so we'll cut 5 3/4 inch squares, and we'll need 2 patches or 2 squares from the background and 1 each from both of the accent fabrics. This will make our half square triangles 8 at a time, and there'll be a tutorial for you that shows you how to do that. And then here are the flying geese 4 at a time. So you use these instructions for cutting for that. We'll cut 2 7/8 inch squares, and we'll leave them as squares, and we need 8 patches of the background fabric. And then finally the quarter square triangles, patch E, 4-inch finished quarter square triangles is 5 1/4 inch square. And for the method of making flying geese 4 at a time, we keep the square as it is. And you'll see that in the demo too. So you need either 4 patches or 1 square. But the 1 square is used for the flying geese 4 at a time. Okay, so that's page 1. Now, there's more oil on this page too, but please disregard that. So here are B, C, and D patches, and these are all rectangles. And the first one is a 2-inch by 4-inch finished rectangle. We cut 4 1/2 inches by 2 1/2 inch rectangles. And we'll need 4 patches, or 4 rectangles, from each of the 3 fabrics. Patch C is a 2-inch by 8-inch finished rectangle. We cut 8 1/2 inch by 2 1/2 inch rectangles, and we'll need 4 patches of each of the accent fabrics. Patch D is a 1-inch by 4-inch finished rectangle. We cut 4 1/2 inches by 1 1/2 inch rectangles, and we need 4 patches of each of those. Then I'll go to the steps to complete the block. Now page 3, for the quilts shown on this other page here, this quilt is shown right here. This is the fabric you'll need, the background 2 1/3 yards, and accent fabrics 24 fat quarters. Here is a suggested cutting layout, and you need to check your own measurements and your own fabric before you go cutting these all up. But this, I just wanted to prove to myself that you could get everything off of a fat quarter, and you can. And then this is the cutting instructions for patch A for the half square triangles, patch A for the flying geese, and patch B for the center rectangle. These are the cutting instructions for the background. All right, now here are the fabrics I've chosen for my 4 blocks. This is patch A for the flying geese, and they go with patch E with the accent fabrics. So this is the geese part of the flying geese, and this is the sky part of the flying geese. These are the squares to make the half square triangles 8 at a time. So we'll make 8 of the teal color and 8 of this burgundy color. And then here are all the rectangles for both fabrics. This is patch D, this is patch C, and this is patch B. And then now we'll piece them all together. Step 1, using patches or squares, we're going to make 16 half square triangles. We'll make 8 of each of these colors. And so these are what we're going to use to make the 16 half square triangles. If you're not familiar with the method, there's a short tutorial coming that shows you how. 8 at a time half square triangles. We take our 2 squares and place them right sides together and put the light fabric on top. We're going to draw 2 diagonals across this on the light side. Next, I'll go to the sewing machine, and on either side of this drawn line, I'm going to stitch 1/4 inch. So 1/4 inch on this side, 1/4 inch on this side. Turn it around and do the same thing over here. 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch. I have stitched on either side of the drawn line, and you can't really see on either one of these. So there are 2 lines of stitching going this way and going this way. And the drawn line is right in the middle of them. Let's turn it over. What we're going to do next is cut it in half horizontally and vertically first. Then we're going to cut along both of the drawn lines. That will get us our 8 half square triangles. So we're going to take right down the middle, half. I line up one of the lines down here on the side, and then I'm matching it right here at the intersection and cut. Now pick up the ruler without moving the fabric and do the same thing here. Find a line on one of the edges to line up your fabric, and then put the edge right at the center and cut. So we have 4 pieces now. Now we're going to do the first diagonal, cut on this drawn line as well. Now we pull these apart and we have our 8 half square triangles. And then we'll just press these open and we'll have nubs to cut off on each corner. All the half square triangles are pressed. Then I just take my rotary cutter and trim off these nubs. They're on either side of the diagonal. Now some people prefer to cut their squares bigger than is needed so they can trim down the half square triangle later. I prefer to cut it the right size and just sew the scant 1/4 inch. So if it is a little bit bigger, then you can always trim off if you need to. So that's the half square triangles 8 at a time. Next we'll take our A patches for the sky portion of the flying geese and the E patches for the geese portion of the flying geese. And we're going to make flying geese 4 at a time, but we'll make 4 of this fabric and 4 of this fabric. If you're not familiar with this method, stay tuned for a short tutorial that shows you how. For flying geese 4 at a time, you need 1 large square and 4 small squares. The large square is the geese part of the flying geese, and the small squares are the sky part of the flying geese. On the back of each of the small squares, draw a diagonal line. Place 2 of the small squares, like this, on the large square, right sides together. You line up these edges and make sure these lines line up. Then you're going to stitch 1/4 inch on both sides of that drawn line. Here are the 2 stitching lines on either side of the marked line, and now we cut it in half on the marked line. Now you'll open these up and press your seams open on both sides. Cut off the nubs. Now you'll place another square in this corner. Here's your diagonal line, and stitch on either side of the diagonal line. And do that for both of these. When you're stitching, your stitches should come out or start right at this point, this intersection here, this 90-degree angle. Cut this in half on the diagonal line, and you have these 2. Press your seams open and cut off your nubs. And do the same for this one. 4 flying geese. We're going to do step 3 and 4. Step 3, we'll take 2 of the half square triangles and sew them on the side of the B rectangle. Press your seams open, and you'll make 4 of each color. Step 4, we're going to sew 1 D patch to each side of a B patch, and we're going to make 2 of each. For step 3, the B patch is the 4 by 2 rectangle. So we'll take the same fabric color and just look at the diagram, and we'll piece them like this. You'll make 2 of the burgundy and 2 of the teal color. For step 4, we'll take the background B unit and stitch a D patch, which is the narrow rectangle. We'll stitch like this. And like this. Make 2 of these and 2 of these. Stitch them together, press the seams open. So our steps 3 and 4 units are done. We'll go to step 5. Let's push these out of the way. For step 5, we're going to sew the flying geese units to the top and bottom of the step 4 units. And we'll match them. You'll have 2 of these and 2 of these. Stitch the seams and press the seams open. Now step 6, we're going to sew a C patch to either side of these step 5 units. And we're going to put opposite colors on this time. These will be stitched to this one, and these will be stitched to this one. So you change the colors for the outside. Stitch them together, press the seams open, and you'll have 2 of each. Now the final step is step 7. We're going to piece these units from step 3 to the top and bottom, and we match the outsides. So it'll be stitched like this and like this. Press your seams open, and then your block will be finished. And here are our 4 blocks, 2 of each. Here's your block layout on page 2. You're going to stitch 3 panels. So just look at the diagram for the placement, either vertical or horizontal, and stitch panel 1, panel 2, then panel 3, then stitch the panels together. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and while you're at it, click the bell to be notified of future videos.